Take Me for a Ride, Coming of Age in a Destructive Cult, by Mark Laxer. Reading by Mark Laxer. Chapter 17, On High.
"How would you like to get out of the spiritual rut you're in?" Rama asked me in the spring of 1984.
"I would like that very much," I replied.
I knew there was something wrong with my life. For years, I sought enlightenment but was no longer happy. For years, I sought the spirit but was no longer animated. For years, I sought the self but was no longer me.
I was ready to try anything, I told him.
He offered to give me LSD. "I suggest that you take it," he said, "but you should only take it if it feels right." In the past, he had used Chinmoy's line that hallucinogens damage the subtle body. But the potential benefits he now explained outweighed the risk, provided that a fully enlightened teacher was around to supervise. "Don't worry," he added with a smile. "I am very familiar with the drug." I was startled by the offer. As a teenager, I had responded to similar solicitations with, "I'm high on life. Drugs would just bring me down." But the buzz of youth had long disappeared, and I knew that the rut ran deep. Sensing, too, that 3 years before Rama had diffused my internal conflict with stelazine, I wondered if LSD could quell my recently resurfacing doubts. There were other factors involved. Months before, Rama had asked Tom, the bass guitar-playing disciple who had finally moved west, to compile a tape of songs from the late 60s. "I want to tap into the people who had been involved in the early consciousness movement," Rama explained. Subsequently, the list of musicians whose songs Rama played at center meetings and at public lectures, without regard for copyright law, grew from Tangerine Dream, Walter Carlos, Jean-Michel Jarre, Vangelis, and the Talking Heads, to now include the Beatles, Cat Stevens, Traffic, and Jimi Hendrix. Perhaps my decision regarding the LSD was affected by the music. Perhaps it was affected by my fascination with the drug scenes in the Castaneda books. Perhaps it was affected by my realization that according to the dictates of Rama's etiquette, there were grave karmic consequences for those foolish enough to ignore his suggestions. I told him it felt right. Roughly 150 miles east of the beaches of Los Angeles, in Joshua Tree National Monument, was a rock climbing route called Therapeutic Tyranny. Less than 10 miles away, by the edge of a mountain, the 5 or 6 disciples probably did not see Rama handing me a tiny stamp. On it was a picture of Mickey Mouse, dressed as a wizard, waving a wand. I was slightly apprehensive. LSD was supposed to be a powerful drug. "Chew it for a few minutes," Rama whispered. It was as bitter as he said it would be. I soon noticed the deep blue sky turned to bands of crimson and yellow and orange. I noticed the lights of Palm Springs twinkle like stars thousands of feet below. I noticed the mammoth peaks of Mount San Jacinto gradually fading away. So stark and surreal was the scene before me that I had to remind myself that this was how the desert appeared at twilight ordinarily. "How do you feel, kid?" "Fine, Rama," I reported, enjoying the attention. "Nothing yet." About 15 minutes later, he gave me another stamp when I found myself noticing that I was noticing that I was noticing that I was it works. I gazed at the lights of Palm Spring. I did not blink. I did not breathe. I lost awareness that I was on a mountain. I lost awareness that I was tripping. I lost awareness that I existed. The points of light grew fuzzy and bright. Time touched the mountain world. I blinked. I inhaled. I turned from the light. I am alive in this desert, I thought. Through the powerful rose-colored lens of the initial rush, the thought magnified and blossomed into a stunning realization. I blinked again and exhaled. I turned and saw Rama and the disciples. I knew that I was seeing on a different level than they were. This made me happy. A large, silly grin took hold of my face. The joy gradually receded, but the facial muscles held. I knew the grin was out of sync. I laughed. I turned to some rocks. I grew serious. The rocks, I realized, are part of the earth. The earth is sacred. I did not realize, as I continued to astonish myself with my own profundity, that I had finally entered a world similar to the ones described in the Castaneda books. Suddenly, Rama raised his arms and made a whistling sound. The disciples looked at him as if he were a god. I felt detached from the scene, as if I were observing myself, observe the disciples, observe the man acting like a sorcerer. Soon I detected a faint glow from the corner of my eye. I gazed at what I felt was an incredible source of power, beauty, and wisdom. It was the rocks. They were glowing. On the drive back to Malibu, Rama was perhaps experiencing flashbacks from the late 60s because he let me do my own thing. As a result, I rode with him in front, but focused on Cindy in back. Her flowing blonde hair and radiant face had made an impression on me long before she appeared on the cover of Rama's newspaper. I turned around often to smile at her. "Hey there," I said at one point. Cindy looked slightly embarrassed. "Hey there," she returned sheepishly. This is fun, I thought. For the first time in years, things were looking up.